Okay. I can promise you that as disappointed as you are with the subject matter of this video, I'm like 40 million% more disappointed with this. Because this is bad. All right, this is 3 weeks of work right here. Spent doing nothing that benefits society. I mean, it might benefit society a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna. No. Hey everyone, it is your girl faithhammy, back at again with another YouTube video. And I know what you're thinking, Faith? FNAF on the faithhammy YouTube channel? That does not fit like anywhere. And I bring up this point. All right, I have covered Josh Groban. I have covered Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I've covered John Wick. I have tried creamsicle Coke with my little sister. Why we read cringy pickup lines that we found on Wattpad. So I don't necessarily think that this is too out of my realm. If anything, me sitting here talking for a very long time about a video game series that nobody cares about. Well, actually, that's a lie. People might get mad at me for saying that. Actually, I think that fits my channel like perfectly. If anything, this is more faithhammy than anything else that has ever been on my channel. All right? Now, I bet some of you guys are wondering. All right, some of you loyal faithhammy subscribers are wondering, Faith, like, what is Five Nights at Freddy's? Okay, what is Five Nights at Freddy's? I hardly know her, you know? So I'm going to go ahead and tell you real quick what FNAF is before we get into this video. Five Nights at Freddy's is a point-and-click horror game that came out in 2014, I'm pretty sure. It's made by a guy named Scott Cawthon, and essentially using things like ambient sound, even ambient lights sometimes. The idea of running out of power, closing doors, using distraction sounds, and all those things kind of mushed together. You play as a security guard trying to protect yourself from rogue animatronics as you work the night shift in a children's pizzeria. So kind of think of these pizza restaurants as like a Chuck E. Cheese, but worse. And that's coming from somebody who actually kind of likes Chuck E. Cheese. Like when that whole like Chuck E. Cheese mixes the pizza thing came out, I didn't believe it. I'm a ride or die for Chuck E. Cheese. But this place, any of the Freddy Fazbear's pizza restaurants, they suck. And we're going to get into why. Before we get into anything, I have a couple of disclaimers. And yeah, if you're wondering, yeah, I did write this down because I'm not going to remember any of this. You know, some YouTubers, they have like scripts and they have whatever. faithhammy has her sheer small improv training and her doggy sketchbook. So yeah, let's go over a couple of disclaimers before we get started, before we get into this. So disclaimer number one is, and this one's gonna suck for some of you guys, but if you're under the age of 15 or you are my cousin, this video is not for you. I have like a million other videos on my channel that you can go look at, and they're a lot more age appropriate. Also, there's some triggering stuff in here. There definitely is. So if you get triggered easily, this is not the video for you. But I have some other ones. Go watch some other stuff. They're funny, they're hilarious. They're not scary like this one. Next thing I want to say, and this one might ruffle some feathers, but Scott Cawthon never intended, the creator of the game, remember, never intended for Five Nights at Freddy's to be a game series. Like, he made the first one and then he just kind of was like, I have ideas, but I don't have anything planned after this. This Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was like his nail in the coffin. He never had an intended thing for this, if that makes sense. So not everything I say here is going to make sense, and I can almost guarantee that most of the things I'm going to say in this video are wrong. So yeah, just keep that in mind as the video goes on, that I don't know all the answers, and I honestly don't think Scott Cawthon does either. Once again, next disclaimer, I mean, not once again. This is how I see the series going. It's okay if you have other opinions. Tell me your opinions in the comments as we continue with this video, because I want to see them. The timeline is fuzzy. The timeline is very fuzzy. Some of these dates might not even be anything that are set in stone, but we'll talk about that in a second, but just bear with me, okay? Timeline is fuzzy. The fifth and the last disclaimer on here is spoilers. Duh. I'm about to spoil like 6 games for you guys right here, so just go ahead and like keep that in mind as the video, you know, continues. So yeah, that's basically all I gotta say disclaimer wise. Real quick though, before I completely get into it, I of course have people I have to thank just very, very quickly. Number 1, Markiplier. He's the king of FNAF. I would not understand any of this without his videos because I don't have a PC or anything like that. So I can't, you know, like play the games myself. So I'm kind of at the mercy of Let's Plays that he posts. So thank you for that. He's my like favorite YouTuber, so of course I have to thank him. Wendigoon. Go look him up. He made his own Five Nights at Freddy's lore video so that he could make a video about the Five Nights at Freddy's VHS tapes that were made by a fan. And I'm sorry, I don't know the fan's name, but some of the ideas that are on here and some of the things that I said, I got from his video because I was like, wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. But I'm going to be sure to say when I kind of got an idea from him. So yeah, thank you, Wendigoon. Your video is awesome. And it really, some people might hate this video. If you hate this video, go watch his because I promise his is way better than mine. You can't thank the king of FNAF without thanking the queen, MatPat. There wouldn't be any Five Nights at Freddy's lore without MatPat, and I'm 1,000,000% convinced of that. They can play the humble card all they want, but I know in my heart there would not be any FNAF lore without MatPats. But without further ado, let's get into this video. Let's see what's up with the Five Nights at Freddy's lore. All right, let's get into it. All right. First off, though, we need a drink. Okay, we need a drink. It's a good drink. Don't worry. LaCroix. You cannot see that. It's a LaCroix. It's a cranberry LaCroix. Go get yourself a Mountain Dew or a LaCroix, a LaCroix, as me and Ava call them, and strap yourselves in because we're in for a ride now. All right, you're already this far in. What is it, like 13 minutes my time in? Pop open a LaCroix, get started. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm ready. I gotta get pumped. I need to like play like the Rocky music or something like that. Just like let's just do it. Let's just do it. Come on. Come on. All right. Ready? When I clap, I'm gonna have a cool title card that comes up and it's like chapter 1. So of course we cannot talk about this series without first talking about the characters in said series. All right, we have to just kind of go over all these people. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 people on this page. We're gonna go over them first and then we'll get into the lore. All right, so person number 1 we're gonna be talking about is William Afton. Now, William Afton is also referred to as the purple guy. There's gonna be a couple of times maybe throughout the video where I point up here and say something about him, and I'm gonna call him purple guy, okay? Because that's who he was for like the longest time before we knew he was William Afton. So yeah, William Afton, aka the purple guy. I consider William Afton a main character for sure, but he's also the antagonist of the series, and you will see why very momentarily. He does some messed up stuff on this board. He is the co-founder of Fazbear Entertainment, which is a company you're going to be hearing about a lot throughout this video. There's 2 founders to it. We'll talk about the other one in a second. William Afton was more of like the technical side of Fazbear Entertainment. He like really worked on all the animatronics. He created like a whole new technology for the animatronics. He was just like the technical guy. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. You know, he made robots and he made animatronics and he made new technology for animatronics. Next thing I have on my bullet points for William Afton is that he's kind of annoying. I do agree with that. Of course I agree with that. I'm the one that wrote that down. He always comes back, LOL. You'll see what I mean by that. And when we get to the board, he's always coming back. He never knows when to leave. He never knows when the party is over. William Afton has 3 kids. We'll talk about those 3 in a second. And finally, the last thing I wanted to say was that he's British. which I think this is all set in like Wyoming or Ohio, or Utah, somewhere like that, somewhere where they grow corn all the time, and like the Dust Bowl is still going on in those states. I'm not entirely sure why they made him British. Like, it doesn't really make a whole lot of like sense, you know what I mean? If they were to give him like a Midwestern accent, like the girl from Fargo, I think that would have been so much funnier. But you gotta remember, this is a video game and they don't like people from Wyoming in video games. That was a baseless accusation. Next character. All right, now this character is my favorite. Okay, I love him. This guy kind of reminds me of, if you've ever seen Breaking Bad, whenever I think of this guy, I think of Jane's dad. But like, yeah, you know what? That's it. I think of Jane's dad from Breaking Bad. I love Henry Emily. Oh, I said his name. Dang it. I was going to do some like big reveal anyways. Next character we're going to be talking about is Henry Emily. I just spoiled it for all you guys. I consider Henry Emily like a secret main character. Like, he's always there, but you don't know until like the millionth game, or 2023 on this chart. He's the other co-founder of Fazbear Entertainment. He's the more money-oriented one, the more business-oriented one. I'm 100% convinced that Henry Emily has committed tax evasion because they have like 95 million restaurants open. They like close because somebody dies and they open up a new one. So it's like, what is he doing to get these new ones open? Like, how hasn't like the U.S. government stepped in and been like, no, man, like you can't open another one. We can't afford any more lives, Henry. He only has one kid. According to MatPat, he has two. But only one kid really matters. I called him the GOAT and sick AF. So I think that sums up who Henry Emily is pretty good. Let's get into the kids, shall we? So the first one of the kids I want to talk about is Evan Afton, aka the Crying Child. There's not much to say about him without trying my best to explain the board. So all I'm going to say is he's otherwise known as the Crying Child. That's what most people call him. He is a side character, and hashtag someone get this kid a Kleenex. LOL. I am hilarious. I crack myself up. Do you think I'm funny? Yeah, he does. Next kid. There's not much to say about Evan, I'm sorry, but next kid. Elizabeth Afton is the middle child of all of the Afton kids. She's really adorable. You get to see her little sprite in Sister Location, I think, which is like the 5th game. No, that's going to be wrong. No, it is. No, it is. It is. It's Five Nights at Freddy's 5. I'm so smart. She's like this big, and she has red hair and green eyes. She's adorable. She's a side character, and yeah, there really isn't much else to say about her without going into the board, but we're gonna save that for a second. Now we're gonna abandon the Afton kids here for a second because I want to save the oldest Afton kid for the last character I talk about. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip to Charlotte Emily, which is Henry Emily's daughter. She is very important to the plot. You will see why when we get over here, because let me tell you, some crazy stuff happens because of this little girl. I have written down that she's a queen. I have other things written down, but I want to save them once again for the board. Oh, I'm just really tired. I went to bed at like 10 last night, but that's not enough. I'm like a bear. I need to sleep for like 15 hours and then get up, and then maybe I'll be energized. The next kid and the final kid I want to talk about is Michael Afton. Michael Afton is my bestie. In my mind, he is very hot. He's British because they're all the Aftons are British, and that just kind of deters it completely. But if you forget he's British, he's automatically way hotter. Am I the only one that doesn't think British people are hot? I used to have a big crush on Tom Holland, but I don't think that they're hot anymore. I mean, I don't mind them. If one asked me out, I'm not gonna like die. I mean, Ren from Pretty Little Liars is hot, but like, well, he's more cute. He's not hot. Anyways. Back to FNAF, back to FNAF, back to FNAF. In my mind, I think of him as like Matt Damon because we follow Michael until he's like 40, or in his 40s. So in my mind, Michael Afton looks like Matt Damon, like starting from like Good Will Hunting Matt Damon to like now. I love Matt Damon. I'm going to make a video about Matt Damon one day. Michael Afton's the main character. When we get over here, you're going to see he's in almost every single game. He's the oldest son of William Afton and company, and he's been referred to as Fox Mask Kid from Five Nights at Freddy's 4. You'll know what I mean when we get over here. And you play as Michael Afton for a big majority of these video games. He is a night security guard for almost every single location. And I also put down that he is a bestie and he is #Pog. So I think you get the idea of who Michael Afton is. That is all the characters we need to know about. We got William, we got Henry, we got Michael, we got Evan, Elizabeth, and Charlotte Emily. Otherwise known as Charlie. I forgot to say, sometimes the game refers to Charlotte as Charlie. I think we're ready to get into this. The big kahuna of it all. The Five Nights at Freddy's timeline board. Let's get into it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's not be scared. We're not scared. Are we scared? No, we're not scared. We're ready to get into it. Let's get into it. Let's do it. All right. Let's get used to the timeline board real quick before we decide to actually get into this. I just decided to put the timeline dates on this side and then the events that correlate with them going this way. So for example, the 1970s only has one note card up there. The 83 only has two, so on and so forth. You get the idea. All right, so the Five Nights at Freddy's story starts in the 1970s. We do not have a specific date for that. I am very sorry. Once again, go back to the disclaimers, come back, and then fight me about it. Henry, Emily, and William Afton opened the #1 location, okay? The first location in the canon. And it is called Fredbear's Family Diner. That is important. Remember that. The only animatronics that they have at this location is Spring Bonnie and Fredbear. If you want to know what Fredbear looks like, I got this stuffed animal right here. That bear is pretty identical to Fredbear. You got the purple, you got the gold. One thing you got to know about Fredbear's Family Diner is that it was very quaint. It was very homey in a good way. People liked going there. Kids loved it because it was the 70s and the Great Depression was going on, and so they didn't have much else. That is a joke. I know when the Great Depression happened, I think. At the time, William and Henry had other competition in the children's entertainment restaurant industry. And they had animatronics too and whatever. So William Afton was like, okay, what if I make something that is so revolutionary so that we can wear the animatronics and then also be able to have them dance up on stage on their own and stuff like that. So William Afton made something called the Springlock suit, which is basically, it's really hard to explain. Here's a picture. So basically what it was is a collection of spring locks, and if somebody wanted to wear it while they were serving pizza or whatever, the spring locks would unlock and allowed somebody to come inside. But once the person was out of it, the spring locks would lock again. That doesn't make any sense, but it does, okay? But the thing about these spring locks is that they were very, very, very dangerous. They were extremely dangerous. If you got these suckers wet, or if they got old, or if you just did anything wrong to them in any way while you were wearing them, if a person was inside and a malfunction happened, the spring locks would lock automatically and crush whoever is inside, and they would not be alive anymore. But William remember those first two animatronics, Spring Bonnie and Fredbear? He made those animatronics with the spring lock likeness so him and Henry could wear them. So William wore Spring Bonnie and Henry wore Fredbear. And they were doing awesome. Business was booming. And in the early 1980s, they created a name for their company, and they made a name. And that is Fazbear Entertainment. And William Afton started something called Afton Robotics. And then we get to the year 1983. You cannot see it on screen, but underneath 1983, I have an asterisk and then FNAF 4, because FNAF 4 is when this part in the timeline takes place, if you're wanting to go more chronologically like that. The year is 1983. William Afton knows how dangerous his springlock suits are, and he is thinking about one thing, and one thing in particular. How can I protect my children from these scary things of my own creation? And I bet you're thinking, oh my God, he has 3 kids. this is so bad. This is so dangerous. What is going to happen? Well, calm down. Calm down. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, all right? You just got to calm down. You got to chill out, all right? Chill out. He decides that he's going to start scaring his youngest child, Evan Afton. Remember the baby, the crying child, the one that needs a Kleenex? Using things like hallucinations and scary sounds coming into his room, and by allowing like his older brother, Michael Afton, to scare him using a Foxy mask. Remember I said that would come up later. Here it is. He's the Foxy mask kid. All those things combined to scare Evan Afton into staying away from the pizzeria. But it's Evan's birthday, and his dad runs a children's entertainment company. So what is his dad going to do? He's going to plan a birthday party at this location. Now here's the deal. Michael Afton at the time was not bestie, and he was not Pog, and he was mean to his little brother. So the day comes. It's his birthday. They're having it at Fredbear's family diner. All right? They walk up in. Evan Afton is there. He's scared out of his mind, and he doesn't even want to go into the pizzeria. He doesn't even want to go in there. But Michael Afton in the Foxy mask and all of Michael's friends are like, "Oh, you're crying. Why don't you go give Fredbear a kiss?" Remember Fredbear? Pick up Evan Afton, go up to Fredbear. Remember? A Springlock animatronic. Okay? And they put Evan Afton in Fredbear's mouth. And he's crying, obviously, because Evan Afton's the crying child. And what happens? The Springlocks malfunction, and Evan Afton is unfortunately unalived by Fredbear. But yes, he was killed by Fredbear. And his soul, this is important, his soul went on to possess the Fredbear animatronic. If somebody is killed by an animatronic, or if somebody is a dead body is put inside of an animatronic, then their soul is going to go on to possess them. In this case, Evan Afton didn't have to be put inside the animatronic. He was just killed by one, and thus he started to haunt the Fredbear animatronic, otherwise known to the fans as Golden Freddy. Let's take a moment of silence, because I know that's really rough. It's very bad. So yeah, let's move on to the next timeline date, which is sometime between 1983 and 1985. And the game that correlates with this plot point is not actually a game. It's just the sister location mini games that you can play within the game sister location. Hey, Editing Faith here. I just want to let you guys know that the Midnight Motorist mini game that is in the game Pizzeria Simulator also takes place during this time period. So yeah, I just want to let you guys know that. What happens during this time? Circus Baby's Pizza World is opened. A new location. Because of course, right? One kid dies at the old one, let's just open up a new one. Now you gotta get, the animatronics at Sister Baby Pizza World are different than the regular, like Freddy Fazbear animatronics. It's Baby, Ballora, Funtime Foxy, Funtime Freddy. It's a completely different slew of animatronics that are based on more like circus type stuff that you'd see at the circus. William Afton opens up this new restaurant to kind of expand the company, and he has an animatronic there named Baby. Now Baby is purposely meant to look like his daughter Elizabeth Afton. All right, but keep in mind, his one kid just passed away. So this is really, really bad. And he's like, I can't let my other kids get anywhere near these animatronics, because I know what happened last time. But Baby also has a very weird thing about her where she has like a claw that comes out of her stomach. And to some people, like Wendigoon said this in his video, he thought that was there so then like William Afton could experiment and like see like, oh, like what happens if a kid gets killed by an animatronic? Does it go on to possess the animatronic? I agree with that statement, so I'm going to go ahead and agree with that and put that in here. But basically, he's afraid for his kids again. And he's like, I can't let another kid get killed by an animatronic, but some other kid can, so I can experiment and see how this thing works. But unfortunately, his daughter Elizabeth is just too dang curious because this animatronic looks like her way too much. So one day, on accident, Elizabeth gets alone with Baby, and because of Baby's mechanics that, tell her to scoop a kid when they're by themselves, Elizabeth Afton is unfortunately killed by the Baby animatronic and her soul goes on to possess Baby. Circus Baby's Pizza World was only open that one night too, because after this whole Elizabeth Afton mess up thingy-majiggy, Circus Baby's Pizza World shuts down pretty quickly after. Because like, what does William Afton expect to happen? Like, what, he just is going to do this and it's like, oh, okay, I guess the location will stay open. Like, I'm sorry, but Henry Emily's not that good at covering up stuff, you know? Like, he only has so many resources at his disposal. But after Circus Baby's Pizza World shuts down, William is unfortunately kicked out of the company. But not unfortunately, what am I saying? No, he's kicked out, rightfully so, out of the company by Henry Emily. Because Henry's like, you're sus, and I'm not dealing with this anymore. You're weird, you're scary, I know you had something to do with the death of your daughter, so I'm not dealing with this anymore. You cannot be no longer in the company. And William Afton's like, well, screw that. I don't like that at all. So William Afton is like, absolutely not. I hate this. You know what William Afton does? He goes and he kills Henry's daughter. What? Even after Henry Emily made a specific puppet animatronic to guard his daughter, William Afton still murders Charlotte Emily. Basically, Henry was so afraid of William that he made a puppet animatronic to guard Charlotte, and despite that, Charlotte still died and her soul went on to possess the puppet animatronic, which is some really heavy stuff. And that finishes our beginning, the introduction, if you will, into Five Nights at Freddy's. Because after this, after 1985, we get into the meat and potatoes section. So yeah, let's take a small intermission. Take a small intermission. Go get yourself another LaCroix or Mountain Dew or Dr. Pepper or whatever your poison is. Go get another one because I know you're done with this one. I'm not. So for our first intermission with fae.ham, we are going to be blowing these bubbles. Isn't that so much fun? Don't you just love bubbles? I love bubbles. Me personally, I just absolutely adore some bubbles. That was a pretty good intermission, if I do say so myself. Very short intermission, but let's get back into the video and go on to part 2, which is titled Our next plot point that we will be talking about is 1987. Who doesn't love it? I love the year 1987. What happened that year? Who was president that year? You could not tell me, but I can tell you one thing. I know what happened in the Five Nights at Freddy's lore during the year of 1987. Take a sip of your LaCrizzy. And let's get into it. The game that takes place during this timeline, or this part of the timeline, is Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Alright, so what happens in the year 1987? Freddy Fazbear's Pizza opens. Finally, the first location name that actually makes sense. I'm sorry, but Circus Baby's Pizza World is way too long of a title, and Fredbear's Family Diner doesn't make any sense either. And I bet you're wondering, Faith, what animatronics are featured at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? Well, I'll tell you right now. Alright, we got Chica, who is a chicken or duck. You got Foxy. You have Bonnie. And then you have Freddy. Freddy is not Golden Freddy. It's not Fredbear. Freddy is his own bear, and he's brown. You also have an animatronic named Funtime Foxy, who is now called Mangle in this game. Remember, Funtime Foxy came from Circus Baby's Pizza World. Basically, in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, you have these things called the toy animatronics, which is Chica, Foxy, Bonnie, and Freddy. But they look cute and they're like meant to advertise towards kids. And then you have the withered version of those animatronics. That's 8 animatronics in one place. And the withered ones come from some past location. My guess is that they came from the location that Charlotte died out in front of. So, William Afton, aka the purple guy, sneaks in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and puts on the old Spring Bonnie suit. Remember how I told you that they're using like old animatronics at this location? Well, at this location, they also have the Fredbear suit, the golden Fredbear suit, remember? The one that Evan Afton is haunting. And they also have the Spring Bonnie suit. They're just like kept away and locked up. So William Afton sneaks into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, puts on the old Spring Bonnie suit, and lures 5 kids to their deaths. This within the canon is known as the MCI, or the Missing Children Incident. After he's caused them to not be alive anymore, he puts them into animatronic suits. And this is where it gets bonkers McBonkers crazy. Here are the names of the 5 kids, okay? So the first kid that passes away is Susie. We know that she's the first one because in the game Ultimate Custom Night, which is like the last in the canon, her like death cutscene is I was first or something like that. So first is Susie. Susie's put into Chica. Then you have Gabriel, who's put into Freddy, not Golden Fredbear, just Freddy. You have Fritz, who is put into Foxy. Jeremy, who is put into Bonnie. And then finally you have Cassidy, who is put into Golden Fredbear, remember? But you're probably thinking to yourself, Faith, Evan Afton also possesses Golden Fredbear. Remember what I told you about how you can possess an animatronic by either being killed by it or put into it? That's how this works. 2 souls possess Golden Fredbear because Evan was killed by it and Cassidy was put into it. So yeah, he does that, which isn't good. All right. And then after that, a guy named Jeremy Fitzgerald is hired as a Freddy Fazbear's pizzeria. I mean, just pizza, not pizzeria, night guard. Now, I bet you're thinking, Faith, didn't one of the kids that die, aren't they named Jeremy? I don't know why Scott Cawthon did that. I'm sure there's some big secret as to why there's a kid that dies named Jeremy and also a night guard named Jeremy. To me, they're 2 separate people. All right, once again, timeline is fuzzy. It's not my fault, okay? But this guy named Jeremy Fitzgerald is hired as a night guard. People start to be like, okay, look, some of like these old animatronics, the non-toy animatronics, they smell like really freaking bad. So I'm gonna need you to like handle that. And then parents of the kids that went missing are like, hey, like, where are my kids? ? And so a police investigation is started against Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And William, obviously, being the scariest gal around, is put into police custody. Now, I wrote on my little note card up here, thank God, LOL. Because thank God. Is no one going to be like, okay, his 2 kids died. Maybe the Elizabeth one has something to do with him. So Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has to shut down for investigation, obviously, because this is where the missing kids were at last. But they have one last B-Day party planned before, they shut down for good. They got to just have that one last rager in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza before they, close the casket. So Jeremy Fitzgerald is asked to help. But unfortunately, due to his purple security outfit, the haunted animatronics with the kids inside think that he is William Afton, and they unalive him. This event is known as the Bite of 87.
On 3, 1, 2. Was that the Bite of 87?
Famously, Markiplier thought that the Bite of 83 was the Bite of 87, but really was the Bite of 83. Jeremy Fitzgerald is unfortunately killed, and he does not go on to possess any animatronics. He's just, a dude. I bet you're wondering, Faith, like, it was closed after that, right? Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, like, it's no longer a restaurant after that? Well, no, actually. It was not closed after that. Well, it was eventually, but you'll see. There was one final night that they needed to be open for. And technically nobody was supposed to be there. It was just going to be like the animatronics were just able to like run free and the doors were going to be locked. That was basically it. But a suspicious man comes up and is like, I will be a night guard for the night. And that man is, sorry, I'm like so congested, it's hard to breathe. That man is girl boss bestie Michael Afton. He is hired for one final night at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and he is the night guard. And when you play, I think that's like the 7th playable night in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. When you play there, the phone guy calls and is like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. But Michael Afton accepts the job and does it anyway because he wants to learn more about his crooked dad who's super duper weird and creepy and not nice and a terrible person. After Michael Afton's final night working at this pizzeria, it closes. Thank God. You might be thinking, well, it says here in parentheses temporarily. So put back on those seatbelts because it's not done yet. Next date we have on the board is 1992, and the game that correlates with that is Five Nights at Freddy's 1. As you can see, the games are like Star Wars. They were not released in order. So, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza reopens! What is Henry Emily doing with those books? Who is he lying to? What is happening? Why has the air marshals not been called yet? I beg the question. All old animatronics are relocated to the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This means that all those haunted animatronics with the kids inside are now working at the newest location. Once again, people are complaining about the smell because, there's dead people inside. So they're all there. There's no more toy animatronics to entertain the kids. It's all the ones with the dead people in them. That's what's going on. Michael Afton, being the G that he is, but also the total idiot that he is, accepts the night guard job at this new location again. And I wrote LOL on here because it's hilarious. Why would he do that? The possessed animatronics, though, the ones that are possessed, they think that Michael is William. Because I forgot to mention this when I was talking about the characters, but it's canonically correct that Michael looks like William. So that's something you need to know. Okay? They look alike. Alright? So the possessed animatronics with the night guard, he's also wearing a night guard thing. So the possessed animatronics believe that Michael is William. So yeah, of course they're like attacking him. Duh. Because they're like, I know your dad. Well, they're like, you are your dad, basically, at this point. So in an unfortunate turn of events, William is released from prison. Under the guise of they can't find any evidence. Now, find some evidence, okay? Figure something out. Arrest him for a parking ticket or something like that, because you can't let that man out of prison. William is scared, so he goes to the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location to destroy any evidence of what he did. And by that I mean go up to all the old animatronics and break them and just completely get rid of them so that he will not get arrested with actual evidence this time. Basically what happens though is the angry kid spirits that were possessing those animatronics get mad, because they were able to like walk around and do stuff with those animatronic suits on, and also because they hate William, so they start to attack William, rightfully so. I put next to it dub, because that's a dub right there. Alright, William, he's like, what do I do? Oh my god, these kids are attacking me and they're little ghosts. I need to do something. So in a moment of desperation, William runs like Tom Cruise to the Spring Bonnie suit and gets inside. But remember what I said? Remember what I said about the spring lock suits and how dangerous they are? What decrepits them? Water and age. And guess what's happening this night? Alright, it's raining. William Afton runs, enters the Spring Bonnie suits for protection. However, the spring locks fail because they're old and they're wet. And William is crushed inside. He's crushed inside. Killing him. He doesn't actually die. Remember that thing I said about he always comes back? That's like a quote from the games. He always comes back. He's going to come back this time too. And Henry Emily, in a moment of absolute boss magnitude, walls up the Spring Bonnie suit with William inside behind a wall, leaving him hopefully forever. But we all know that's not going to happen. After this, like part of the game, he's no longer Spring Bonnie, he's Spring Trap. That's what a lot of people call him. And he's ugly and he's gross. So keep that in mind as we continue. Next plot point. It is the year 1995. And what game is going on during this year? Five Nights at Freddy's 5, aka Sister Location. Michael, once again, being the Mrs. 9 to 5 that he is, I'm sorry, he accepts a job at the Sister Location, which used to be Circus Baby's Pizza World, but now it's more of a animatronic rental service that's like underground. But he accepts a job there, basically. And then I put in gray letters underneath that, Michael is an idiot, because he is. This is dumb. I'm sorry, Michael. I know you want to learn more about your weird dad and the things that he does, but this is not good, bestie. You're gonna die. Hey, so editing Faith again. I just want to preface and say that Sister Location is like the hardest game to explain in my opinion, because it takes like a lot of suspension of disbelief. So, just bear with me. It's hard for all of us, you know? This is going to be a struggle for me, you, and the teddy bear in the video. The animatronics that are in this rental location are Baby, Ballora, Funtime Foxy, and I forgot to put it up there, but he's here, Funtime Freddy. Baby is possessed by Elizabeth Afton. We remember this. We remember this from up there. She is possessed by Elizabeth Afton. And on, I think it's like probably the fifth night of him working there, Baby convinces Michael Afton to go what is called the scooping room. Now, the scooping room is how they get the animatronic endoskeletons out of the suit so then they can do repairs. And basically, she lures Michael in there and she scoops Michael. Now, but you're wondering, Faith, what does that mean? Michael's a real person. He's Bestie. He looks like Matt Damon. So what do you mean he got scooped? Basically, I looked it up on Reddit to mean really what that meant. It's kind of like coring a pumpkin, but with a human being. Michael is #scooped. And all of the animatronics in the sister location band together. So Baby, Ballora, Funtime Foxy, Funtime Freddy, all the weird marionette babies, they're all put together and they create something called Ennard. And Ennard enters Michael Afton's body and starts to control it. So then they can escape the sister location. That is messed up. That is #messed up. That is not nice. And it is not an okay thing to do. You don't just do that to people. Who does that? That's mean. Yikes. That is what I have written on the board. It says yikes. Basically, Michael has to live with these animatronics in his body. And he's strolling. There's a mini game of him like strolling like this. And as time continues to go on, he gets more and more decrepit until eventually his body just starts to fail. And Ennard leaves his body because they're sick and tired of living in a dead one. And somehow, some way, by some miraculous act of the Matt Damon gods, Michael Afton is still alive. What? He's dead. Bestie is supposed to be dead. But Matt Damon never dies, especially not in the Jason Bourne movies. So we're just going to act like this is like Jason Bourne, Michael Afton. So Michael Afton lives and he goes his own separate way. And Ennard decides Ennard escaped too. So they're both separate. And the animatronics that were a part of Ennard are free. Now here's an important part about this. Baby gets kicked out of Ennard because I don't really know why. I just know that she does. In my personal conundrum, I think the only reason why Baby got kicked out of Ennard is because she has to come up later on as her own entity, and so story-wise, it just makes the most sense for her to just get kicked out of Ennard. She becomes something called Scrap Baby on her own. That is where the 1995 storyline ends. Now we have a huge time jump. It is, let's see here. How many years is that? It's like 30 years, like 28 years, right? Well, 1995, 2005 is 10, then the 2015 is 20, and then, let's see, yeah, 28-year time jump. All right, then we get to the year 2023. Dang, this is where things get confusing. Actually, we're past the confusing part now. We're nearing the end. We're in the home stretch. All right, in the year 2023, the game that is taking place is Five Nights at Freddy's 3, which in my opinion is the least scary game in, oh my god, excuse me, the LaCroix. In my opinion, this is the least scary game in the whole thing, and it's supposed to be the scary one. So it doesn't really make any sense, but I digress. A horror attraction called Fazbear Frights opens. Once again, more locations. There's like 90 million up here. But Fazbear Frights has nothing to do with like Fazbear Entertainment or anything like that. So Fazbear Frights opens and Michael, being the idiot that he is, decides to take a job there. By the way, he's still alive. Even after the whole Ennard crap, he's alive. He's just a corpse walking around. Good for him, I guess. I put in parentheses next to the fact that he gets a job there. No surprise. Unfortunately, once again, in an unfortunate turn of events, Springtrap, scary William Afton, Springtrap, scary man, is unearthed from the old Freddy Fazbear Pizza location. He's unearthed. But what's supposed to happen? He was supposed to die there, but he didn't. And he's still alive somehow inside of that Springtrap soup. And he's unearthed, and he is brought to Fazbear Frights as a like horror scary attraction. And Michael's like, you gotta be joking me, man. Like, come on. Like, I'm here to learn more about my dad. Yeah, I get it. But also, like, I don't want to see him ever again. He's scary. And he, like, literally, like, unalived my whole family. So, Michael, in an act of desperation, similar to up here, sets the whole entire Fazbear Frights location on fire. Hoping and praying that it'll kill him. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I guess we'll have to figure out what the next plot point. I put down here, setting the whole place ablaze, killing his pops. LOL, not really. Because duh, we all guessed it. He always comes back. Alright, every single time. It doesn't matter what we do, doesn't matter what we burn on fire, doesn't matter how he gets crunched, he's always gonna come back, and it just doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. It does. It's been a really long 3 weeks. Okay, you have to understand that going in. All right, let's take another bubble break before we get to the final plot point, because this part of the game is my favorite, and I want to save it for after the next bubble break. So let's take another bubble break. Oh, just one. Okay, that sucked. We got to do some more for the bubble break. Oh. Maybe the bubbles are trying to tell me, like, hey, would you mind just, like, continuing the video? Oh. Ah. Dang it, all the bubble juice fell on the floor. That's why all this is not working. It's okay, though. Let's take a nice deep breath, and then let's get into Chapter 3. Post-2023, what are the games that take place during this time? Pizzeria Simulator and Ultimate Custom Night. Henry Emily, the goat, the bestie, the guy from Breaking Bad, he opens up something called Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Pizzeria. It's not Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Pizzeria. He opens this thing, and I want you to guess. I want you to make a real good guess who becomes the night guard at this location, because I know who the night guard is at this old location. It's Mr. Matt Damon, aka Michael Afton. Your life matters, okay? You don't need to be doing all this, Matt Damon, Mr. Michael Afton. And all of a sudden, weirdly enough, old animatronics start showing up at the door, and I know what you're thinking, Faith, what are you talking about? What do you mean old animatronics start showing up at the door? Well, I'll tell you. Scrap Baby, Springtrap, and Molten Freddy. I forgot to talk about Molten Freddy. It doesn't even matter. Honestly, I did not mention Molten Freddy throughout this whole video because Molten Freddy confuses me, and I think it's the dumbest plot point ever. So, yeah, I'm going to choose not to talk about him. But old animatronics start showing up outside the door. And basically, you have to bring them inside because they make you money and they're cheap and you can use them for parts or whatever. But all of these old animatronics kind of start to band together. And Scrap Baby convinces the others, and the others basically, that they showed up because they were going to be getting a gift or whatever. But really, Henry, Mr. Bestie, Mr. Best character in this whole entire game, called them here for a reason. And I'm not even going to explain what happens because it is not good enough. I have to show you the monologue. I have to. Other people who have made FNAF lore videos have done this exact same thing I'm about to do and just did not explain it and showed you the monologue. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert the monologue here and I'm just going to let that play and you can understand what happens just from that because it's the awesomest and the sickest monologue I've ever heard in my whole entire life. Here you go. Go watch it.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name. But I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have indeed been called. You have all been called here, into a labyrinth of sounds and smells, misdirection, and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach. But you will never find them. None of you will. This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still, and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, friend. My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to lift you up into their arms, the way you lifted others into yours. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you, and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
So, everyone finally dies. There's no more coming back from this. No more Springtrap. No more other scary animatronics. Everyone is dead finally. And all the souls, all the sad little souls, rest in peace, are able to be released. And they can get out of those scary animatronics that they're in. And life is good. And you know what happens in the game Ultimate Custom Night? William Afton is sent to his own special personal hell where he gets tortured by all the animatronics that he made and did bad things to. And he's tortured there in the afterlife for eternity. And that is the final point on the fae.ham. I'm so glad that it's done. I really am. It's over. It's finished. If you stayed all the way throughout this whole entire video, I very much appreciate that. This video took a very long time to make. And if you were able to stay throughout all of it, I appreciate that just so much. I don't know what else to say other than that. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see me do more deep dive, in-depth videos like this, dude, I will make them. I will make them just for you. I know this is not my typical type of content. I know I made a joke about it at the beginning, but it really isn't. But I'd love to start making more content like this. So let me know down below. Once again, thank you very, very much. This is really fun. I like doing things like this. These are my favorite type of YouTube videos to watch, so I thought, okay, it's time to make one. So yeah, that's basically all I got to say. If you stuck around this long, once again, thank you so much. And I appreciate you guys very, very much. Once again, like I say in all my videos, you know what I'm about to say, you know what I'm about to do. Wear a seatbelt, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.